Today is going to start really simple. All I'm going to do is get this gold circle to follow the mouse. I think this should be pretty easy. Maybe it'll only take 10 minutes. Okay. So we're going to get the cursor position from GLFW. And I need something else. I need the matrix from the camera. So let me just take a look here. I believe we want the VP matrix. Yeah. Actually, let me do a function within the camera, I think. Well, how would that work? Because we want to return two vec3s. I guess this is why I had the line class in the NewCity code base, because it's kind of hard to return two vec3s at once. But I think I could do like a vec3 2 get mouse ray. Then we can just do this all internal to the camera. So we need the T, vec2 x, y. Well, I think we can get now. I think we made this mistake before, that get window size actually takes I32s, I think. Let me look at genetic life, actually. Line 213. Yes. Easy mistake to make. And then this function, well, we might as well take things in the same format. Although C++ would handle that for us in this case. Shoot, we don't want... Well, maybe we can rely on C++, because everything else is afloat here. Let's see if Copilot can figure this all out. Okay. We actually don't want to recompute all of this. Is it just the VP that we use? Yeah. We don't want to recalculate all of this. We just want to use the VP that we used before. Although, as it's used here, it looks like it may not be written into the database. I don't know if this will break it. So this is the code that I probably would have had to spend a day to hack on. And if AI got it right, then we won't have to spend that time. And there we go. Now, is that valid C++? I don't know. Find intersection of mouse ray and plane at, yes. Point, okay. Source, I think we put this in data, collision.h. vec3, right plane, intersection. Right origin, right dir, plane, origin, plane, normal. Which it looks like this one gave it in the reverse order. And we should double check to make sure that 1 and 0 are the correct order here. Yes. Okay. Well, that's a funny way to do this if statement, but okay, we can test this. I definitely feel a lot less incentivized to like understand my code. Of course, if it doesn't work, then I do have to understand it. Okay, get mouse ray. So maybe I'm not allowed to do this in C++. Okay. So I guess there was a good reason why I had this line class here. Ends up coming up, I guess. Mouse ray dot end. And then I gotta change the inside too. Alright, and let's see if AI can figure out. Well, okay. Yes. Do I have to say line here? Okay. Oh, well, interface camera.h. Okay. Just so that AI, like, knows what's going on here. Yeah, why can't I do that? How did I do this before? Okay. Why am I having struggle with this? I guess I don't know C++. I thought I did. Yeah, return L. What's the problem here? Expected... Oh, there's a missing semicolon here. Oh, boy, how long have I been programming C++? I should know. I should be able to do this. Okay. Now, I don't think I actually did anything with the intersection. So, this is going to be intersection.x, intersection.y. And I guess we could do intersection.z, although in principle that should be 0. So nothing's happening. Let me just, get some printf debugging going here. Intersection is at 0. Well, okay, so there's something funny going on with the way that AI wrote this function here. So if we print off what the denom is, it seems like it's getting kind of a funny denom. And then let's also just take a look at what our mouse ray is. Okay. So we're getting some values that look kind of reasonable. It's calculated very large values for the end, which is, it's kind of an arbitrary choice how big you choose. Or I guess it could be based on the view frustum, which we probably have the view frustum set very big. So this was as I expected. So if I think that this wants to be like this. This is why I thought that it kind of wrote the if statement backwards. So if the denom is very small, and the thing that AI got wrong here is that it really should be the absolute value of the denominator. If the denominator is a negative number, that's fine. We can still get the intersection. But if the denominator is close to 0, then that basically means that they're parallel lines. There we go. Okay. Now, here's the question is, how long did I say that would take?
Maybe it'll only take 10 minutes.
This perspective is weird. What's going on with this perspective? That's very interesting, isn't it? But, I mean, it gets it perfectly right. But it follows the mouse exactly. One thing that we could look at is, there does seem to be quite a bit of latency. So we could test out, while things are still simple, why do we get as much latency as we do? Is that just frame rate? Or is it because there's, kind of like multiple frames of lag built in because there's, buffers and so on. But hey, I mean, it follows the mouse perfectly. So my next goal for myself is going to be, you click once, and then you click a second time, and then you get a road. And it's going to be just one row to start. And then I'm going to have a debate with myself about how do I want to do curved roads. So, I mean, maybe there will be some control points, I don't know. But I have mouse picking now. I have a way of going from, reading the mouse location from GLFW and getting array, which represents what the mouse is pointing to in camera space. And then I'm intersecting that ray with the plane at 0. And I'm just placing this little gold circle there. So yeah, great. Okay. Now I just want to take a quick look at, did I put this in here? I want to understand what spline algorithm we're using. So everything uses this evaluate spline and evaluate spline tangent. And I don't recognize the spline algorithm by the math. I'm not that clever. But what I was looking for is if there was an if statement here, then that might indicate that this is the kind of spline where I could just keep adding control points and make the spline longer. Some work that way. The other thing I want to check is when I place the spline, do I place the control point? Maybe I shouldn't try to program and talk at the same time. Procgen box and control point. I kind of want the endpoints to be red and the control points to be green. So what I'm doing is setting up meshes to display the control points. Yes. Boy, that draw function is and let's just see what that looks like. Oh, okay. So unfortunately, this is the kind of spline where the control points are not along the spline. And that kind of sucks. So I'm definitely going to choose a different different spline algorithm. I think that Catmull ROM splines are the ones where the control points actually lie on the spline. And that's just much more appropriate for what we're trying to do with this game. It's just better for a city builder. Since I'm here, I'm going to change this one detail. I think it's in Draw GL here. This can just be a vec4. Or maybe a vec3 and a rotation. Maybe it can be both. For location. Okay, I was going to switch to whiteboarding at this point, but I'm actually going to keep coding a little bit because I want to get multiple roads at the same time. And that'll give me a space to experiment with how I want the user interaction to work. I could whiteboard how I want the user interaction to work, but it's actually, I think it would be harder for me to demonstrate it with Krita than it would be for me to demonstrate it with coding. So, first thing I'm going to do is just look at the mall demo code that I was writing and look at, okay, I had this one segment polygon, and I think I have a common names here. These are related to the engine or the task. And here I'm going to put stuff related to NewCity 2000. I think we're probably going to keep a lot of this I don't know how this agent simulation algorithm is going to evolve. And I'm actually going to change segment to structure. And we're going to get structure mesh. And sure a location. Actually, I'm going to call it position. So I use a, let me actually comment this. Position in world space. And this one's U32 mesh index. Actually F32 rotation, yes. Now, at some point in the future, this is actually F3 less frames movement in world space. So I make a distinction between position and location. And position means a vec3, like an XYZ location, position. And location, maybe there's a better jargon distinction to make here, but location is more like an abstract, like I'm in this particular road or I'm in this particular building. So it's more likely to be like an I-32 index. Did I delete them? Oh, yeah, okay, I did. I changed segment to structure, so let me just change this to structure polygon. So a structure refers to a building structure or a road structure. Just check to make sure this compiles. Great. And check to make sure that the old code runs correctly, because we did make changes to it. Well, I'm not sure if this should be referred to as running correctly, but it doesn't crash. Okay. And then here, in test mode, I'm going to try to put the road state back in the database. Right. Okay. Now down here, you can actually just do this. Oh, I guess we don't want that plus plus. Fair enough. Now here, we're going to write into the database. Come on, AI. This line here is kind of unnecessary, but it's fine. And then we also want to kind of clean up the state. Is that all we have to do, really? I mean, we could obviously clean up the mesh, but, or clean up the spline. D6. I think the interface to this database can definitely be improved. Really just a first pass that I made. Oh. I keep on running into this kind of, that I desire to have a cursor named the same thing as the name of the table in the database. Because that's just the name that makes sense. I'm kind of referring to the same thing, just one is an index to the thing and the other is a cursor to the thing. We don't really need to keep these cursor objects anyways. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look at that. We have 2. 2, 3, 4. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I just have to get the kind of user interaction in a sensible way. And also, I'm creating new meshes every frame and I'm not disposing of them. And the way that I'm doing meshes right now, I don't have a way of disposing of them. Also don't have camera controls. So these are things that I'm going to work towards, maybe in the background. So I am going to go ahead and implement basic camera controls just so that I have a way of moving the camera. And I think that I kind of did something like this. Now I remember why I wanted to think about key mapping before getting into moving the camera. Because I did this once, and, I started to build up kind of a structure, and, then I was wondering, is this the correct structure? So let's see, I have an input state object, which I'm reading from an older version of this database. And, let's see. Has flags, so it can be set to strafe right, strafe left, based on the key position. The structure isn't actually bad. I think I could just copy this and kind of update it for the new database. There's kind of this paradox of like, do I want to go and implement some sort of fancy structure? But I think that this kind of input state system that I have here is kind of a good start for a focus camera. Let's see, do I have... And then there was also a name here, I think. Input state. Oh, gotta wake up. That's my alarm to make sure that I don't sleep through the afternoon. Great, and then how did I use this here? There's none of this that's actually kind of game specific if you, yeah. So, I feel good putting this kind of in a general code base. So we'll call it standard key event. And then I don't have to re-implement this key event every time. Oh, but I have to find... In order to make it a callback... Well, maybe I can just... that's kind of annoying, because then I have to do... I really want to do like a kind of like a standard init input, and then yes, and then we can create a cursor node. Let's call it st, so it's standard task. So here we change all of this to st.at as input state, and then we gotta say read 0. Great. Okay. So now, I wonder the way that this set mouse button callback works. Because it says set, it doesn't say add. So it doesn't sound like we're allowed to add multiple callbacks. It's not like JavaScript. So, how could I have this functionality, which is kind of, specific not just to the game, but to the tool? Let me think. So, if I think about how this worked in the NewCity codebase, the classic codebase, we go to NewCity public, and then we go to source / what was it, input.cpp. And I was looking at this just the other day. So, if there's an event, it goes through this handle event. And so I have an input event object, which represents it. First mod code is able to intercept it. Otherwise, this accept input is related to the UI. So the function name really should say like UI accept input or something like that. But and then it looks at the planner. Does the planner want to handle the input? And actually, that's looked at twice, it looks like. And if it's a scroll wheel event, then we scroll the camera, unless we're hovering over the UI, and then in case it might scroll a list that can be scrolled. And then here we get down to the tool. So this function, basically asks different parts of the game, do you want to handle this input? And if all of them say no, then it goes down to the tool. And it looks like I have, like, per tool, I have a way of, in the tool code. So if I go to tools/tools, well, what do I have here? Oh, I think maybe it's parts/toolbar, what I'm looking for. Now, why is it there? I don't know. So we have a tool mouse button callback, which looks up what the current tool is and then calls a mouse button callback on that tool. Now, I was never happy with the way that the tools worked. It's, using some tomfoolery that wasn't. There were better ways that I could have done it. So going back to the issue at hand, I really don't want to, write into a database that some state is, the mouse is down, and then, I don't see anything remove this flag. Maybe it's, in the code that uses this, but yeah. Well, let's just not handle the mouse buttons here and just worry about the keys. We are going to have to come back to this if we want to do some key mapping for, changing what type of road that you're building or configuring the road tool. And in the classic code base, the key mapping ended up being kind of integrated into the UI a little bit, that the button had a label for what key you would press, and then in the code base it actually kind of virtually pressed that button when you press that key. Okay, so we're keeping the mouse button callback. This really needs a cursor node. Well, but it doesn't actually, really. But it needs, okay, so this is the other thing that I've been trying to figure out is, so I keep doing this event task object that I just store in a global scope, because I don't really know where to put it. But this is really supposed to mediate, kind of our relationship to the... Well, okay, so let me do this then. So there's really an int standard event handler. And this takes a cursor of node t, and then I think it takes a couple of parameters, which we're actually not using. Param1, 624 param2. So this is a task that you just put in your task generator. Here, we just need to do glfw pull events, but first we need to make sure that st equals t. And I might try to make sure that the ST is disposed of or canceled after this returns, but I'm not sure how to do that yet. Because if we're keeping this ST object in the global scope, it really becomes invalid once the function returns. So there should be like an ST equals null, but that's not really how this works. I would need like an ST dot invalidate or something like that. And then I have to have so I'm going to create an empty struct here, and then there's going to be a type def. Yeah. Input update function. And it's going to take a cursor node T and an input event E. And we actually have a task standard event handler. And and there might be in the future like an add key callback specific to some key, or maybe like some identifier of the concept of a key, like be like, int key and std string label, like what is this action doing? And then that integrates into some sort of key mapping system so that the player can remap their keys. But that's kind of like future work. Right now we just need this mouse callback because it's kind of annoying to structure this otherwise. What did we call it? Input source interface input.h. Let's call it input handler. We get this. I have this input event object that I'm not doing anything with. But that information, it might contain like, this is a mouse click, or this is a key press, or something like that. Okay. Now this definitely won't compile, but I think that it's in principle what we want. Whoa. So, I guess if I made this this like a real iterator that actually works like an iterator, then I could write it like this. But I'm not sure if I actually want that. Well, now it seems like something has gone a little wrong. There's some information here that's created when initializing that I don't set correctly. And somehow that feeds into here and into the printf. So I just got to make sure that I'm setting up all the information correctly. Now to kill this window, now that I've run Valgrind on this program, in order to kill the window, I have to do something a little convoluted. I'm trying to remember how I did it. I guess I explain it here. So I do gdb build/vigor, which is the name of the executable. And then I say target remote vgdb, and essentially I'm logging in to this window from this window. And I'm just logging in so that I can tell the darn thing to be killed. Although, actually, while I'm here, let me just get a backtrace and look at... Okay, well, that's interesting. It's not a number. I wish it had told us exactly which part of the value is uninitialized. Alright. I'm just going to kill it because I want to look at which part is not being initialized. Looks to me like we set the camera up. Camera position, yes. Camera dir, yes. We don't initialize the VPs, actually. Okay, and now we should at least not get... And I'm going to prepare to do this elaborate logging in so that I can kill it. Oh, looks like Looks like there's another issue here. So let's go to line 89 here. Oh, okay, so we might just want to initialize road tool, which is really just, for now we'll just set everything to 0. And this is really just so that Valgrind doesn't think that we're using uninitialized values, which can cause issues. Okay, so what is it that I need to do again? This is so cryptic. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. It's more just like, why can't I just kill it from here? Why do I have to log in and type this over and over again? Great. Okay, and let me look at my behavior. Okay, good. We're back in business. And there might be some camera stuff going on here. Nope. Not yet. So I can't have two event systems running at the same time, basically. Event. I think I called it standard event handler. Ah! More trouble. Now I've removed this, or I'm not using this event task test mode object anymore. I have a standard event handler now. That looks good. Hey, and there's kind of a camera. Okay. Behaves a little weird. That was not the behavior that I expected. Okay, I'm gonna have to take a look at this and figure out what's going on here. Okay, now I have kind of a funky camera. The first thing I remember is that, yeah, I set the camera from a weird angle. Okay, now strafing makes sense. But moving forward, all the way up here, three forward equals 3 of vec2 of dir, comma 0. So this is just kind of a way of setting the z to 0. And then right is the cross of the forward. Okay. And I'm just going to have to increase the move speed here. Move speed equals 100f. Move speed times move speed. I think we actually want the move speed to scale based on how zoomed in we are. But I don't think I have zooming implemented. No, I don't. What on earth is going on? Let's just restrict it to one dimension so that it's easier to understand. So we're just not going to modify the pitch at all. Whoa. Huh. Is there something funny about how I'm setting the up direction? Or maybe I just don't set the up direction. Camera up. Up should be up. There's only one up. That looks better. Although it's kind of the wrong direction. There we go, look at that. Okay, and the pitch probably doesn't want to go below 0 or even very close to 0. And we don't want the pitch to go over... Is that Y over 2? Or pi over 2, I meant to say. Which is 90 degrees. I think I'll let players get a really low angle. If that causes problems, we can always increase it, but it's nice to look at your city from a low angle. Okay, that part works correctly. That part works great. We don't have a scroll wheel to zoom yet, but maybe we'll get that later. But there's kind of a start. Now I just have to think about how I want this, how I want actual road building to work. Great. Let's look at this on the big screen. Boy, I notice I get much worse frame rates here. That's terrible frame rates. Unacceptable. But the functionality is, in terms of the camera, I mean, is pretty much on point. That's great. Boy, I'm really not used to not having the scroll wheel here.